හරිද? Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Om Mani Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday service, International Buddhist Meditation Center. This morning, as usually, we are going to practice the loving kindness meditation. After the meditation, we have Dhamma talk. Before that, I want to say something. We don't have any more lay people here right now. We have only 4 monks. They are sitting 4 sides of the sendo. You may not see them because we are practicing the quarantine. We are practicing the social distance, and actually monks sitting right today, more than, I believe, almost 10 feet away each other. We have Vinita, Chandasara, and Panyaloka, and myself. You can see only the Buddhist statue. That's okay. But other 2 people, Mr. Nam and Caesar, they are not here either. I think they are not coming until the December finish. Maybe they come January. And we do have our technical officer, Ashan. Possibly he's cutting our picture also. So we'll practice a little bit meditation. Then Reverend Kusala is going to cue Dhamma talk. So after that, you can ask the question and answer. After that, we're going to chanting a little bit, page 4 and page 10. It depends the time. So I will talk later the announcement. Thank you again. Join with us. We'll hand microphone to the Venerable Panyaloka too.
Okay, sit in comfortable positions. Relax your mind. Relax yourself. Feel free to close your eyes if you are comfortable. Now we are going to practice the loving kindness meditation. And with these loving kindness thoughts, practice the metta meditation. Reflect on these words. May my mind be filled with the thoughts of kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. May I be free from enmity. May I be free from ill will. May I be generous. May I be gentle. May I be relaxed. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be healthy. May my heart become soft. May my words be pleasing to others. May my actions be kind. May all that I see, hear, smell, taste and touch help me to cultivate loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. May all these experiences help me to cultivate generosity and gentleness. May they all help me to relax. May they inspire friendly behavior. May these experiences be a source of peace and happiness. May they help me to free from fear, tension, anxiety, worry, and restlessness. May my parents, teachers, brothers and sisters, well-wishers, friends, and enemies be free from enmity, ill will, and grudge. May they all be happy, healthy, and peaceful. May each and every one of us be free from greed, anger, aversion, jealousy, and fear. May the thought of loving kindness embrace us and envelop us. May every cell, every drop of blood, every atom, every molecule of our entire bodies and minds be charged with the thought of loving kindness. Let us relax our bodies. Let us relax our minds. May all beings in all directions, all around the universe, have good hearts. Let them be happy. Let them have good fortune. Let them be kind. Let them have good and caring friends. May all beings everywhere be filled with the feeling of loving kindness. May all those who have hurt us be free from greed, anger, aversion, hatred, and jealousy. Let these thoughts of loving kindness embrace them and envelop them. May all those who are in hospitals now, suffering from COVID, be free from numerous sickness. Let them meet with peace and happiness. May they be free from pain, affliction, depression, disappointment, anxiety, and fear. May happiness be restored soon. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. Practice silent meditation for a couple of minutes. When you hear the sound of the bell, open your eyes.
Thank you, Venerable Panyaloka. Now it's time to start Dhamma talk. I think Kusala is ready in his room. Kusala, you can start your Dhamma talk right now. You have time almost 40 or around 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, then question and answer.
Okay. Can you hear me, Chanting?
Yes.
Good. Okay. I don't see my picture. Let's see. Maybe I don't start video. I don't know. Oh, there he is. Okay. I see me now. Okay, I'm going to talk about enlightenment today and the path to enlightenment. And this is the abbreviated version. This is the one of the ways to get there, and one of the ways to look at the Buddhist path, according to some teachers. So, as a Buddhist, what we have is obstacles. We really don't need to gain anything. We have everything we need to achieve enlightenment. But what we do need to get rid of are the obstacles that prevent us from realizing our enlightenment. Now, I like the idea of realizing our enlightenment. It's not like we have to go out and find it. It's already there. What we need to do is wake up to the fact that it is already there. And in doing that, we come to a place of ultimate peace, compassion, and wisdom. Let me change my view here. And speaker view. Okay. Gallery. Okay. Full screen. There we go. Okay. So where do we start? Well, we start with the intention to achieve enlightenment. It's a desire, which is ironic because it's the desire for enlightenment that prevents us from achieving it. So, but the desire is necessary in the beginning. We have to want to do it. We have to put energy towards it. We have to have a strong intention to follow through. And it's a lifelong pursuit. It takes a heck of a long time, but it starts with the first step. So the first step is recognizing the fact that all humans have the ability to achieve enlightenment. All humans have the ability to achieve enlightenment. That's what the Buddha gave us when he said, I'm human. I'm not a god. I'm not an angel. I'm not a deity. I'm a human. And because I'm human, I can achieve enlightenment. So we have the intention to achieve enlightenment. And then we need to deal with our first set of obstacles. And the first set of obstacles are killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, unskillful speech, intoxication. Those 5 obstacles prevent us from realizing our enlightenment. So we take the 5 training precepts: not to kill, not to steal, not to indulge in sexual misconduct, not to lie or speak unskillfully, not to consume intoxicants to the point of intoxication. Now, at our center, that's an option that we have, that it's not simply, I'm not going to drink anymore. If I'm in a social setting, I may want to have a drink to feel comfortable and make people feel comfortable with me. But then again, I may not. The idea is not to become intoxicated, because that changes the way we view the world. It allows us to be much more unskillful and create suffering in our life and the suffering of others. So that's the sort of the karmic starting point. We're going to change our karma now by speaking in a different way and acting in a different way. Okay, those 5 obstacles prevent us from doing that. So we're working on that in the beginning. Now we have the thought process, and we have obstacles in that as well. And so what we want to do is we want to identify them, and begin our meditation practice. Our meditation practice can be either concentration, which is samadhi, extended focus of mind, or mindfulness, a unique kind of awareness that the Buddha recognized as being important to gain wisdom, get rid of delusion, which allows us to finally achieve our goal. So when we're talking about the obstacles to meditation, we're talking about the 5 hindrances. The first one is sense door desire. The idea with sense door desire is it drives us through the world. We have the 5 sense doors of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. And then we have thinking, which for a Buddhist is also another sense door. So the thought process becomes something that can prevent us from achieving our enlightenment. That is an attachment that we have to the sense doors. We like things that smell good and taste good and sound good and look good. We like to have pleasant thoughts, either of acquiring something or achieving something. So between the sense doors of the body and the mind, we look at those as obstacles that can be overcome without having to deny ourselves the pleasures and happiness of life. So in the beginning, what we're trying to do is find out what the root is to these sense door desires. What triggers them? What gets me going? And for instance, if you have a thinking process that enjoys football and your team is playing, you have a strong attachment to your team winning. And that desire of your team to win prevents you from achieving enlightenment. So the idea is not to get rid of the desire for your team to win. The idea is to get rid of you looking at doing that. It's not you, it's the mind. It's not you, it's the desire. There's a healthy detachment that can be accomplished when you look at those desires in a skillful, wholesome way. Not being driven by them, but understanding why they're there and how it makes your life better up to a point. Then we have the desire, or the second hindrance, the second obstacle is hatred and anger. Now, in one case, we have attachment, and in the other case, we have aversion. Those are 2 sides of the same coin. So anger and hatred at what's going on in the world or in your body or in your mind causes you to suffer greatly and is an obstacle to your final release from suffering, enlightenment, or nirvana. Can we not hate? Can we use love and kindness? Can we use compassion? Can we use a multitude of mindsets to balance our anger and hatred and come to a place of acceptance? Now, somebody I once listened to said one of the ways to come to a place of acceptance is, number 1, to forgive. That's the starting point. Can we forgive all the things in the world that we don't like, that we have hatred for? And then finally, after forgiveness, can we come to a place of acceptance? And what that acceptance does, it gives us a sense of peace with what's going on in our life and what's going on in the world, realizing that we are one of the contributing factors to the anger and hatred, but we're also a major contributing factor in the end of anger and hatred. Then we come to one of my favorite roadblocks, hindrances, hurdles, and that's laziness, sloth, and torpor. That it's easy to be lazy. It's easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it later. Or maybe I don't need to do my laundry today because I have 3 pairs of socks that I can wear until that time when I really do need to do my laundry. So we're sort of driven sometimes to find the easy way out, to look for comfort in our life, to to relax into the present moment and let go of past and future and things that need to be done or things that could be done. Now, one of the assets I have found in getting old is you start to realize how little time you have left. So being lazy, being slothful is less of a problem if you understand that death is your co-pilot and it's just a matter of time until you won't be able to do anything. So if you have something in mind to do today or tomorrow, as the wise people of old used to say, you know, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. And that helps to balance your laziness and sloth. Then we have agitation and worry. And this is like the monkey mind going crazy, that jumping from one thought to the next, from one desire to the next, from one aversion to the next, and not being able to calm down and relax and see the importance of being steady in what you want to do and what you want to achieve. And these days with COVID and stay at home and everybody's dying and everybody's getting sick, it's difficult not to have that affect you in a negative way. That if you find you can generate compassion and kindness to all those who are sick or might be sick, and all those frontline workers who are still working in the midst of this pandemic, it allows you to relax more into the present moment than if you didn't do that. That this present moment experience we have is special, and the only place we can do the work necessary to achieve enlightenment, to get rid of all the obstacles in our path that prevents us from experiencing that. So next time you have monkey mind, what I like to do is I like to pinch myself. Not hard, but just hard enough to be aware of the sensation. And what that tells me is that pinch is happening right now in the present moment experience of my life. And that sometimes will disrupt the monkey mind or the thought process and get me back to my breath, and maybe become aware of 3 or 4 breaths going out and 3 or 4 breaths coming in. And that monkey mind starts to settle like mud in a glass of water that's been stirred and placed on the counter. And if the glass is there long enough, the mud settles to the bottom and clarity appears again. Now, the last of the obstacles or hindrances is skeptical doubt, not believing or not having faith or not having confidence in the process of the path. So the Buddha identified this path for us in his first talk, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And he said, I have come to realize the Eightfold Path, which is the path to nirvana, the path to enlightenment. And if we follow this path, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, we can find the place that allows us to awake. That we come to that point in our practice where the practice turns into performance, and that performance is the actual enlightenment itself. Not needing to go anywhere or be anything other than what we are, other than practicing on a daily basis. Now, none of us know how long we've already practiced. Some of us have probably been here before 1,000 times and have found the Dharma 1,000 times, but have never really done the work necessary to achieve the final goal. So this may be the lifetime, and you may have already put in a whole lot of lifetimes in your practice, not knowing it. And so the confidence comes with, I am more concerned about the path than I am the goal, because the goal will take care of itself as long as I'm on the path. As long as I practice the 5 precepts, as long as I become aware of the 5 hindrances, as long as I have Dharma to study and meditation to do, I'll ultimately achieve my goal. Now we have one more step in all of this that we need to accomplish, and that is to become aware of the three aspects of Buddhist wisdom that have a liberating factor that allows us to become ultimately detached and free and never have to suffer again. So what are the three aspects of Buddhist wisdom? They are anicca, dukkha, anatta. So the first aspect of Buddhist wisdom is to realize that everything changes, including ourselves. And if we can come to a place of acceptance with the constant change in our life and the universe, there's no place to get attached. There's nothing to hold on to. There's no place to stand. We are always in flow and flux. And if we can find the flow and flux that leads to our enlightenment, all we have to do is jump in and not resist. But it's difficult because we feel more comfortable and more confident if we think things are permanent and unchanging and will always be here. It gives us a sense of security. But when we look back at our life and see how many restaurants have closed and how many mountains have been excavated and how many trees have been cut, especially this time of year for Christmas, we see the rise and fall of life and insentient beings as well, coming and going, no place to stand. So the only thing the Buddha said was unchanging is the one thing that was unborn. So if there's a beginning, there's always an end. But he assured us that nirvana had no beginning and nirvana had no end. And it's not only the end of suffering, but it's the end of the security in the delusion of permanence. Number two, dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, feeling uncomfortable, not wanting it to be the way it is. These are things that are coming up all the time now because of the coronavirus and the stay at home and the insecurity of not knowing what comes next, or how am I going to make a living, or how can I pay the rent, that goes on and on and on. This is one form of unsatisfactoriness. There are many forms of suffering and dissatisfaction, and in our life, we'll probably experience most of them. But if you understand the idea of impermanence, you also see that impermanence is one of the direct causes of all the suffering that you're feeling. And in understanding, we come to a place of wise reflection on suffering and the beginning of suffering and the end of suffering. So the Buddhist path is really unusual because it sounds in the beginning like a very pessimistic way to experience the world. And then as we get deeper into our practice, we start to see that it's a very realistic way of looking at the world. And as we continue, we start to see there's really not much of a reason to be attached to this world of ours in the way we are, because every time we have attachment or aversion, we suffer, and that comes through understanding where suffering comes from. So that's the second aspect of wisdom that's necessary for our liberation. And the third aspect necessary for our liberation is the idea of not self, no permanent entity that identifies us in a specific way. That we too, mind and body, this human condition we find ourselves in, is in a state of constant change and flux and causes us great suffering because most of the time we don't like the way it's changing. We might try to do our hair differently, or get a massage, or buy some new shoes, or have a new jacket or coat. And that gives us momentary happiness and pleasure, but it's soon to go. And then you have to ask yourself, who wants the new shoes? Who wants the new hairdo? What part of me thinks that that will make my life better rather than worse, rather than different? And so as we investigate this idea of who we are and who we've been and who we're going to be, we start to see the flux and flow of that personality. And we start to see that in one moment we can be this person, and in the very next moment we can be another person, but they are connected. There's a causal connection to every person we've been in this lifetime and every person we're going to be. But standing apart from that, nothing exists. And that can be scary in the beginning. Oftentimes in meditation, we can come to places of not being the person that we thought we were, and that can alert us to the fact that the meditation practice is working and we're making progress, but can also give us a little fear and anxiety when we base our whole life on who we are and what we do. So it's not like we need to stop thinking as an individual. What we start to do is we start to see that thinking as an individual limits us. It prevents us from our full perfection as a human being, our perfection in being interconnected and interdependent with all life and not separate from it. And that insight, that deep wisdom that comes through the meditation practice and that non-self that we finally become aware of really is one of the contributing factors, major contributing factor, to the elimination of our suffering and to the possibility of reaching the goal in this lifetime. So when we look back in this very abbreviated way, how to achieve enlightenment, what to practice, we start to see that it is possible in this lifetime to achieve our perfection as a human being, to no longer have greed, but only generosity, to no longer have hatred and anger, but only loving kindness and compassion, to no longer being deluded and ignorant, but to have wisdom and insight into the true nature of life and our life in particular. So I think I'm going to stop there. I think this is a lot of stuff to think about, and hopefully you saw the thread between the intention to achieve enlightenment, accepting the 5 precepts to deal with the obstacles, becoming aware of the 5 hindrances to see the obstacles in our meditation practice, and then to see the 3 aspects of Buddhist wisdom as a major liberating factor in our practice. Does anybody have any questions about what I've said? And was it clear enough to understand? Okay. And I'll just wait here for a few moments to see. Hi, Jeannie. I think you need to turn there. I think you need to turn your mic on.
Okay, am I okay now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, so I think that the hardest thing for me is to get rid of anger at certain things that are going on right now. And I think certain people are responsible. And I'm supposed to feel compassion and love when I think that there isn't any compassion and love in them. And it's really difficult. So you just go, oh, well, inside they're suffering people, because that's the major liberating factor of Buddhist wisdom. But I think it's one of the most difficult things in the practice for me.
Yes, I agree. It's difficult for me as well, because there's so many issues out there that are caused by anger and hatred on all sides. So if I could recommend a practice, it would be to forgive. not to forget, but to forgive. And the idea in not forgetting is that we are aware of the potential of it happening again, and maybe even to us. So we're on guard to a certain extent that we don't want that person's anger and hatred to affect us in a negative way. The Buddha at one time said, you know, when you see an angry person, that they're holding a bowl of coals, hot coals, and they can hardly wait to give you the bowl of hot coals so you'll be as angry as they are. And that causes you to suffer as much as they're suffering. So the idea is to say, okay, I understand to a certain level what that person is doing and how unskillful that person is and how much suffering they're causing, but I'm not going to take the hot coals and hate them back, because those hot coals then will burn me and turn my heart into ashes if I hate them enough. So we get past that in taking the hot coals, and then we come to a place of acceptance that that person is just unskillful. And there's nothing I can do or say to make that person more skillful and a better person. They generally have to do it themselves. So I now need to be able to let go of wanting to change that person and make them better. I need to come to a place of acceptance with what they are and what they're doing, and not get caught in that same hatred and anger cycle that they're caught in. Now, I've noticed from some of the spiritual people on YouTube, on Facebook, that they're taking a break. This one person is an ordained Buddhist and says, I just can't take it anymore. Between the COVID and the election and all the hates, comments and stuff, I'm going to just take off for a while and get it out of my head. And I thought to myself, no. If you're a religious person, this is the time you need to be on Facebook. This is the time you need to be posting positive quotes and positive information about the world, to give people an option to the hate that is so evident on social media. Can we do it as Buddhists? Can we be on social media and post good stuff to give people an option to think in a different way? And I think we can. And I don't think we need to take everything personal that's written on Facebook. We just need to understand where it's coming from, oftentimes an unskillful place, and balance that unskillful post with a skillful one to sort of neutralize it. And it's difficult, granted. And when I see these spiritual people opting out to take a spiritual vacation, it's sad for me. I think, no, you got to hang in there, and we all have work to do. And our work is to balance the negative with the positive. Is that helpful, Jeannie?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I'll wait till other people ask, but
Okay. So start with forgiveness. Forgive them for being deluded and ignorant and hateful.
Okay, I will.
Okay, good. Anybody else have a comment or a question they'd like to ask while I'm here?
I'll just unmute and ask. This is Nick. Hello.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Good.
When I recognize one of the hindrances, whether it's in meditation or just doing my daily deal, when I recognize one of the skandhas coming up, what do I do with it? Am I trying to eliminate it? Am I trying to make friends with it? Do I go and sit in meditation and stare at it? What do I do with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So let's say one of the hindrances, one of the obstacles is anger and hatred. That's the second one. And that's aversion. That's something we want to get away from. We don't like it. Whatever it is, we hate it, don't want to be around it. It doesn't serve a purpose in any good way, and we're going to eliminate it. Well, you know, you can't tell the pink elephants to go away because you're going to have more. So the first thing is to observe the hindrances being part of your life at that moment. You know, the hindrances are mental, and the idea is they prevent us from achieving peace and calm in our meditation practice, but also peace and calm in our everyday life. So we have this hindrance of hatred, and the idea is to all of a sudden become aware. And then you say to yourself, I wonder what triggered that. Where did that come from? Was it driving? Was it somebody said something? Somebody looked a certain way? Why did I react in that way? And it gives us a chance to see where the roots are to these hindrances, these obstacles. Now, the idea is not to suppress it. The idea is really not even to get rid of it in a traditional way. The idea is to let go of it, to see that it really holds no value in my life to think this way about something. It only increases my suffering and decreases the chances of my enlightenment. So if I can look at anger in that way, I have a chance to use it as part of my practice rather than simply being a roadblock or a speed bump on the path to enlightenment. And using those, becoming familiar with them, tends to decrease the intensity of them. It steals some of the energy away from them when you start to see and understand where it came from and what it's doing to you and the possibility of letting it go. Now, easier said than done, that's for sure, but it gives us something to do while we're safe at home.
Yeah. So I am not my hindrances. They're just mental formations.
Yeah, the hindrances are there because you were given the gift of a human birth. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing to be human. It's just we have more work to do than the squirrel in the backyard. You know. So.
All right, Kusala. There are one question somebody sent to the chat. His name is Diago. You can read it and answer.
Okay. Can you let me see if I can get my little thing over here. I see it's on the chat.
Yes.
Let's see. Can you define, contrast, compare enlightenment versus awakening? Wow, that's a good one. Okay, and that's from Diego Sanchez. Okay, let me give you my definition of enlightenment. And enlightenment for me is the direct personal experience of the interconnectedness and interdependence of all phenomena. Okay, so I don't know if I would say enlightenment versus awakening. I would say awakening allows us to be aware of our enlightenment that was already there. So enlightenment for me is the experience of the interconnectedness and interdependence of all phenomena. Okay, and who's this? John. John, you'd like to ask a question too?
Yes, please. Hey, Kusala.
Hey, John.
Thanks for giving today's talk. It was really a good one. I've been meditating now more than half my life, and I only say that because maybe there's a rut, and I've hit these ruts before, or felt that way. But I often find when I'm meditating, I get lost in thought. And the thing you said today about pinching yourself is a good idea. And sometimes if I'm by myself and not at a Buddha hall, I will chant, like a Guanyin recitation will help bring me to the present.
Yeah.
But didn't know, I mean, and I've always employed the same technique, which is just follow the breath to 10 and then start over. But didn't know if you recommended a bigger change in technique or just keep going and just keep sitting through it. And eventually things, I'll stop thinking so much, or getting lost in the thoughts. But that is what happens. And I sit every day, without fail. But I constantly find myself just thinking and writing those thoughts, exploring them, engaging with them.
Okay, well, that would be the monkey mind part of the hindrance. A hindrance, monkey mind jumping from thought to thought and doing. It's a lot of fun because you can, we can think forever about everything. I don't think you need to change anything. I've often felt that what happens is we plateau for a while. And that's when we try to get maybe more exaggerated forms of meditation or more complicated forms of meditation, thinking that's the answer. And it really isn't. The answer is just to keep meditating no matter what happens. And then to wanting to have less thoughts. I think that's maybe a wrong way to look at it. You're not going to have less thoughts necessarily, but you could look at, you'll have less thoughts of you thinking. That it'll eventually, you're not the one who's thinking the thoughts. The thoughts are simply happening because you're sitting down quietly, not doing anything. So can you get to that place in your practice where you're not the thoughts, but they still occur? And I think if you can do that, then you'll be able to be more at ease and calm with the thought process, and realizing that it's a really efficient tool to take care of a lot of the problems and complications in our life, but it doesn't necessarily shut off when it's not being used. It just continues to go and go and go. It's like a car that you can never turn off,
Right.
So the idea is to let the thoughts be what they are and not be the thoughts themselves.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Thanks, John. Good to see you.
You too.
Okay. Anybody else? I don't. Okay. Let's see.
Okay. Oh, there are one question, Kusala. His name is Richard in the chat room.
Richard in the chat room. Okay.
Hi, Reverend Kusala. I basically want to know if the best way to meditate. I think I've been doing it, maybe a couple years now, but not as every day as I used to. And I started feeling guilty that I don't do it every day. And then I don't know if my mind was trying to convince me that, well, meditation is just being aware of what your thoughts are and where you're spending your time, so you can do it with your eyes open. So these are just thoughts I have that you can maybe address.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. I've often felt that when I don't want to meditate, or maybe not meditate as often as I should or could, that it's Mara, M-A-R-A. And Mara is the great tempter. And it's not like a devil, but I like to sort of formalize the idea that Mara exists all the time, and its primary job is to divert me from my enlightenment. And it will do everything it can to make me feel that I'll never be able to get there, or what I'm doing isn't important enough to continue. So there is mindfulness of everyday activities. That's good. That is a way to meditate. But there's also the sitting meditation and the concentration meditation. And I like to use the breath. The breath has been what I've done my whole life, my whole meditation life. And it's served me well. And I went into more extravagant ways of meditating, but I just found it wasn't more useful. It was just more extravagant. So the basic becoming aware of the sensation of breath allows you to become aware of the presence of you in the moment, that sensation of breath is only happening right now. And when you have thoughts of, well, I'm going to skip today, think of it in sort of a comic book way. Well, Mara's back. Mara's sitting on my shoulder again. Mara's trying to talk me out of meditation. I'm not going to listen this time. I'm going to show Mara who's in charge. And in a way, that's sort of what the Buddha did underneath the Bodhi tree when Mara tried to tempt him out of his final release in nirvana. And Mara sent the armies in to distract the future Buddha. and he didn't move from his seat. He sat through all the distractions of mind and body and finally achieved his goal. So that's how I look at it. I know a lot of people have been practicing for years and years and don't feel that anything's happening, or maybe it's not worth all the effort that they're putting into it, but it absolutely is worth the effort, and something is happening even if we're not aware of it. A lot of stuff is going on in the subconscious, and a lot of rearrangement is going on, and a lot of furniture is being moved, and it just happens because of our practice, not because of what we want it to do. So Richard, I hope that helps. Don't give up. Just look at it as Mara. I'm trying to give you a hard time.
Kusala, one more question. Selvin, you can ask your question.
Okay.
Hello, Reverend Kusala. It's so good to see you. Thank you for, again, a
Hey,
great
It's good
talk.
to see you too.
So I don't think you answered the question, the difference between enlightenment and awakening, but I also wanted to point that you answered the enlightenment part, I think. The awakening part, not so sure. But what I wanted to, not sure to point out, and maybe you pointed this out, that enlightenment is something that happens, but it doesn't really stick around. Like you kind of have to keep practicing. And then you'll have moments of enlightenment, but then you don't. Am I correct in remembering that? Just on the awakening part.
Okay, I think what you're talking about in Japanese Zen in particular, they have different levels of enlightenment. In the same way the Theravada have different levels of nirvana. So there is momentary enlightenment. I think it's called Kensho, if I'm not mistaken. But there's permanent enlightenment as well. So it just depends. But you have permanent and you have momentary. And I don't know if we're the ones who are able to decipher or decide which one we're having. I don't know if anybody can really be aware of their own enlightenment. Other people might be. Other teachers or masters might be able to point it out. But that's what I would say about temporary and permanent enlightenment. Yes. Selvin, anything else? Oh, your a microphone. There we go.
Yes, the awakening part. Oh, sorry, just to go back to what you were saying, you did mention before that somebody who's truly enlightened will never tell you they're enlightened. So, but what about awakening?
Well, yeah, I don't know. You know, awakening is that sort of waking up twice in one day. And I don't know if that person is going to be aware of that either. But, you know, this morning we all woke up at a relative level. And then some of us may wake up again at an ultimate level and see the true nature of our life, but probably not. And so the idea, I suppose, is to always make that an option, that if I wake up again today, what's it going to feel like? How will I be different? Or how will everything else be different? Or does it really matter? You know, is it going to change the course of your day to become enlightened today? Will you not go to the grocery store and pick up the peanut butter because you became enlightened? You know, so it's a really interesting and complex idea of enlightenment and awakening and how it affects the person who's experiencing it. And because I'm not enlightened and I can only give you words that I've read and fingers that I see pointing at the actual event, but I can't give you any personal analysis because I'm still trying to wake up from this morning, you know. But good question.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and it's great to see you.
Good to
Stay
see
healthy.
you. Thanks, Selvin. Okay. Well, I guess, does that do it, Chanti? Are we at the end?
Yes, there are one is called Vincent.
Hi, thank you, Reverend. Thank you very much. I have heard that I have some to go on your story about football. I had gone to a Dharma talk, and I guess the teacher at the Dharma talk had talked about how he's from England, and one of the towns had lost a football game, a soccer game, and when he went to the town, everybody was walking around with their head down, and somewhat affected by that. And sort of you're talking about when your team loses. But with respect to enlightenment and nirvana, I've also heard that, sort of having the carrot stick of nirvana or enlightenment, that sometimes it's not fair because not everybody's perhaps is going to achieve it, or we're going to achieve it at some varying degrees. And that, I don't know, do you get what I'm saying? That maybe not everybody's going to. So to say that that is our ultimate goal can sometimes be a setup. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Just a few thoughts from what you said, Vincent. That number one, it is a setup. If we have in mind the idea of what we're trying to achieve, we'll never achieve it. So the idea is to just do it without any particular goal. The idea too about being disappointed with your team is that you have a relative dualistic perspective when you have a team against another team. And in enlightenment and in nirvana, there's a non-dual awareness that prevents you from picking sides. So every team is your team at that point, and you're never disappointed or happy with the results of the game. Now, some people may say, well, that sort of takes away the fun, and it does. But if you have fun, then you have non-fun as well. If you have good, then you have bad. If you have happy, you have sad. So getting rid of the dualistic interpretation of our life is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that will not be understood by most. Most people just want to be happy. And for a Buddhist, we just want to be peaceful. And becoming peaceful means you're aware of both sides and the coin as well. And you're none of them or all of them at the same time. Thanks for the question, Vincent.
Thank you.
Okay. Rick, it's good to see you today.
Good to see you, Kusala, always.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Reverend Kusala. And we don't have time to ask more questions. Few announcements. Thanks again for everybody who have participated for the program. And next Sunday, Cyrus Maharjan is going to give a Dhamma talk. Nepal is Dhamma teacher. He's going to give a Dhamma talk next Sunday, same time. And if anybody want to help to the temple, donate anything, either you can send a check to the IBMC, write to the IBMC, and our address is 928 South New Hampshire Avenue, Los Angeles, California 90006. Or you can send through the PayPal. In our program there are 2 programs you can send any donation. Thank you again for everybody. We're going to chant. We're going to chant the few minutes. Then after that, we're going to finish the program. Again, thank you, Ran Kusala, and thank you for everybody. We're going to chant page 4 and page 8 and some 2 minutes Pali chanting also.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅgham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Itipiso bhagavaṃ arahaṃ sammā sambuddho viññācarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sattā deva manussān buddho bhagavati Swakato bhagavata dhammo sangdittiko akaliko ehipassiko opanayiko panchattang veditabbo viññuhiti Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Ujupatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Nyāya patipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Sāmīci patipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Yadidang cattari purisa yugani atta purisa punggala esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho Āhuneyo pāhuneyo dakkineyo anjali karaniyo anuttaraṃ puñyak lokasati. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Deluding passions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them all. Dharma gates are limitless. I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme. I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find health relief. Om Ani Padme Hum. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you again. By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, you all be well and happy. Thank you.